Good evening, everyone. My name is Katie Anderson, and this is the Communication Consultant International's presentation of Promoting Diversity Through Communication. We were really excited to work on this project for you, as it allowed us to have multiple perspectives brought together so that we could give you guys the best solution. To my right are my following group members: Megan Sechrist, Kristen Trumbull, Jason Matson, and Ty Holly. We have a great team here dedicated to finding the exact problems within your school so that we can thoroughly examine multiple solutions that will best fit your needs. Not only do we care about the problems you're facing, we care deeply about communicational error in general. Our solution to the lack of cross-cultural communication here is to have mixed homerooms for students to interact with random peers once a week. This should hopefully increase relational development amongst different students and their groups, and also it would mean having just one prom. Today we will be discussing our reflective thinking process. We will first focus on problem identification and problem analysis, then on how we generated the criteria and possible solutions before deciding on a single one and showing how to implement it and follow up. Now we will have Megan, Kristen, and Ty.
As you know, you contacted us a few months back when students started to approach you requesting separate proms for their different subgroups. They informed you that they would be more comfortable if they were able to attend a prom with peers that had similar tastes and values. You also informed us that you have a district goal of promoting positive cross-cultural communication. After reviewing your case study, we as a company have isolated the underlying problem as being just that, a lack of cross-cultural communication and interaction between your subgroups of students. This problem is being caused by institutional segregation that is promoted by the splitting up of students into various groups based on their abilities in the classroom. Students are then furthering this issue by segregating themselves by race and ethnicity during lunch in the cafeteria, in their after-school activities, and in the extracurriculars that they choose. It also occurs in the classroom when you have work groups. The negative connotations of this lack of cross-cultural communication will be talked about later on in this presentation.
If the prom debacle was enforced, it would reinforce the segregation between the students and subgroups. It will further promote the lack of cross-cultural communication that is already occurring. We believe that implementing the solution and taking away the two-prom idea will encourage better cross-cultural communication amongst the students.
This video that's about to show will tell us what cross-cultural communication is and why it's important.
It's a big world, full of difference and diversity. How you see others is influenced by your own cultural perspective, and how others see you is influenced by their cultural perspective. What happens when you speak? Do people from other cultures understand you in the way you intended? And what happens with different cultures in the workplace? How rigid or flexible is their approach to rules? Is formal or informal behaviour expected? And how do different cultures approach timekeeping? In today's global business environment, it is essential to learn how to navigate across different cultural landscapes. You need a good set of tools to do this. You need an understanding of how different cultures trade and do business, an insight into how different cultures communicate, and a clear idea of how different cultures manage people. To be a savvy global traveller, you need to be willing to undertake the journey of understanding other cultures. Develop cultural intelligence so you can communicate confidently across cultures.
So, now that we have seen the importance of cross-cultural communication, let's unpack this problem step by step. We've already discussed what the problem is, but what are the points that make this a problem, and how can we remedy them? First of all, this problem exists because of co-culture issue. A co-culture are groups that have clear identity within the majority culture. What this means is, in this situation, the majority culture would be the entirety of the student body, and these co-cultures would be the different segregations within them. So essentially, these different groups are all part of the whole. However, through segregation, they isolate themselves from other people and contribute to the problem of the lack of cross-cultural communication. When you have this isolation between the different co-cultures within the school, that can breed ethnocentrism. Ethnocentrism is the inclination to see all events from the perspective of your own culture and evaluate your own culture as superior. So, because of this isolation and their decision to only communicate within their own subgroups, we have the issue that they are reinforcing their own cultural perspectives on issues. This means that they are much less likely to be comfortable around or accept the perspectives of other different cultures. Furthermore, ethnocentrism can lead to a lack of collaboration, and that's exactly what we need in this school as a part of our solution. Collaboration is when communicators are committed to working together to resolve conflicts. However, since we have the divisions between the cultures stimulating the ethnocentrism, we cannot have a collaborative solution. Therefore, we must implement some solution that gets these students communicating to where we can form collaborative decisions to solve problems, which would make them much more comfortable within their own within activities involving other cultures.
Now that we have thoroughly discussed our problems, we will be discussing the criteria for a possible solution. This will save all the involved parties time because we will be making sure all possible solutions can meet the proper standards to be successful before they are accepted. Here's Kristen and Megan with the first criterions.
Our first criterion is that it is accepted by all of you, the school board and the principal. Since you are the people who are going to be implementing this solution, it is imperative that it meets your needs.
The next is cost constraints. The solution that is implemented should fit any cost constraints and budget limitations that the school faces throughout the year.
Our third criteria will be time. Now, time is essential because these students need to have proper time to get prepared for their prom. There needs to be proper time to set the prom up, and we also need to have this all done within the second semester of this year.
In addition to the first three criterions, we also need to ensure that this solution that we develop is fair to all parties. There are people on all sides of the issue here, and we need to ensure that we take care to identify and address each of these differing viewpoints. We need to consider the students, the faculty, and the school board and school district in order to formulate an effective solution.
Finally, our fifth criterion is furthering cross-cultural communication. Any solution we decide on must result in our goal of ensuring that diverse communication is welcomed among students. Next, we have come up with all of these solutions and hoping that one of them will meet our criteria entirely. Jason will be discussing the first solution of implementing a single prom with no choice.
So, the first solution is just a maintenance of the status quo. The school district already sponsors one singular prom that all students are invited to attend. However, due to the problem and the students not feeling welcome, it doesn't seem like this decision would be wouldn't really take into account the opinions of the students, and it wouldn't really be fair to all the parties. They would still feel like their voices were unheard and that their concerns were unaddressed.
Our second possible solution would be club mixers. Now, these would be extracurricular clubs and groups where we would have some sort of event or an occasion where they could get together and mingle, and they could cross-culturally communicate.
Next, we have school fun nights and events. This would allow for students to have the opportunity to meet with the entire student body during these events. This would also allow them to interact with these people before they were forced to go to a single prom. This allows for positive cross-cultural communication. The problem is, not all students are going to attend these events. And when they do, there is a great chance that they will still choose to be segregated within their subcultures.
Our fourth solution is a mandatory group study class. This would require teachers to take time, both the staff to take time out of each day to make sure that students got together to work on a problem. This would be timely, cost-effective, and may increase cross-cultural communication. However, it could be detrimental to senior graduation requirements as it takes time out of the day. It may not create immediate term results, and it would be more difficult to staff with minimal teachers. The pros would be that the smaller groups would allow for would make communication unavoidable, and it would also stimulate student involvement in the material, and it would allow students to form meaningful relationships with their peers.
The last solution would be mixed homerooms with random selection. Every student will be randomly selected at the beginning of the semester and placed into a mandatory homeroom that will be a safe environment. Some pros would be fostering a welcoming environment. Random selection removes the unfairness. A large number of students would create an atmosphere for a more comfortable level of communication, as well as it would fit into the school schedule and it wouldn't mess with any senior graduation plans. Some cons would be that students might not attend, and with random selection there's still a chance that students will isolate themselves within the groups. This was our decided solution. We chose this because it fits all the criteria that we would develop. The school board would accept it because of the key audience members, and the cost constraints would be none because we didn't have to add anything. It would be timely because it could be implemented immediately without having to change anything throughout the day. Fair to all parties because of the random selection, and it furthers cross-cultural communication because it puts the students into an unavoidable situation so that they can communicate amongst themselves.
So now you may be asking yourself, what is implementing this solution involve? Well, first of all, our plan involves inserting a 20-minute period at the beginning of each week where students come together in these mixed homerooms with random selection. Some of the activities that may be included in these mixed homerooms could be different games or problem-solving activities where groups or teams split apart from the major group and work on these tasks together. There are several important elements of this plan that are designed specifically to treat the problem. First, we set this period up at the beginning of each week so that throughout the week, students can they have ample time to continue building and furthering these relationships that they have built within their mixed homerooms. Secondly, we want to stimulate the idea that they are a part of a team. By setting forth one certain objective for them to accomplish with any game or competition or problem-solving activity, we give them a shared purpose that they can come together under and become more of a team. While they identify as more of a team, this will naturally increase their willingness to communicate with one another, further breaking down these barriers that prevent effective cross-cultural communication. Finally, we are going to introduce some of the campaign documents that would be involved with this solution so that we can make sure that the faculty and the students know what's going on and aren't surprised by this solution when we implement it.
First, we have a flyer that you are able to print out and hand to the students or even post around the classrooms. You can also blow this up into poster size and put it in common areas around the school so that students definitely get the picture. This provides them with the logistics, the what, when, why, and how. It also gives them 3 major benefits, which are going to excite them, hopefully. They can make new friends, they can broaden their horizons, and they can work with a variety of viewpoints. We also provided the importance of cross-cultural communication, which we provided to you in the earlier slides. With this, students will understand why and how this is going to be implemented.
We also create a memo that can be sent out to teachers, staff, parents, anyone that needs this information. It contains a summary of the problem and the solution, as well as a more broad background and discussion that goes into further detail of what the problem was, how we found it, some research that was conducted, and the solutions that we have come up with, and why and how it's going to be implemented.
To follow up on our solution, we will be returning after spring semester has commenced. When we do this, we will have conferences with the staff and faculty to make sure they like how the solution is working for their students. We will evaluate any outcomes that we need to change, and further, we will do anything we can to promote the diversity of cross-cultural communication. Included are our references, and once again, we are the Communication Consultants International, and we thank you for your time, and we hope that our solution will bring cross-cultural diversity to your school and that your students will be happy to have one prom.